Heya Cryptozens, welcome back to the Crypto Overnighter. My name is Nikodemus and we do crypto news analysis nightly at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, none of this should be considered financial advice. And it's Saturday, February 4th, 2023. And how is the first half of your weekend so far? Now, there's been a lot of talk lately about Web3 endorsements. Kim Kardashian got in big trouble for shilling and not disclosing the shill. She paid a huge fine for advertising Ethereum Max and then not disclosing that it was an ad and how much she got paid. And I think mixed martial artist Dylan Dennis should be a little grateful for YouTuber Coffeezilla, because Coffeezilla may have given him a gentle reminder that you have to disclose the shill. So what happened is, Coffeezilla tricked Dylan Dennis into shilling for an NFT project that doesn't even exist. For $1,000, Dennis tweeted out an ad for a fake candy-themed NFT project called Sours NFT. And in that promotion, Dennis copy-pasted the ad text which spelled out scam. It said, Sours NFT, candies are moonbound. Scam. Anyway, in that ad, there's a website URL. This website was just created February 1st. Now, if you were to look up the address at ican.org, you'd see that. While we don't have a name, we can see that the site is just a couple of days old. So if you're considering a project to invest in, that can be a useful tool. It's at icann.org. India, Charlie, Alpha, November.org. Now, if you go to that website, there's an FAQ section. One of the questions asks you how you can get one of these NFTs. And it tells you straight out, you can't get one. That was another clue missed by Dennis. Now, another thing you find out if you go to that site is that Dennis is a multiple offender. So if you go to the site and you click on the Mint Sours button, that's going to take you to a page that talks about other projects that Dennis has shilled for that turned out to be garbage. Because, even with a little research, he would have seen the red flags, especially the one about only being a couple days old. Now, another NFT project that's been around for a while is Little Shapes. Now, Little Shapes has been around. It was launched in November of 2021, and it wasn't a scam. It's what they're billing as a social experiment. The pseudonymous founder of the project is Otto, and they just revealed the Little Shapes NFT project had another purpose. It was designed as an expose on the large-scale NFT bot scams on Twitter. Now, Little Shapes itself was described to be an avatar-style project with 4,444 NFTs. It claimed to have a software engine that would let owners interact and change their artwork in real time. Now, it does help that Otto is the founder of a real project called Balls NFT. And you probably saw at least one of the viral tweets starting up in last December. I know one of them depicted the author of a tweet saying he just woke up from a coma. And he carried a hell of a story along. This guy had money on FTX, and that money got locked up while he was in the coma. Then he had to tell his wife, and they lost everything, only to find out that she was cheating on him with other people from the NFT industry. That all came to an end on February 2nd, when he, the Little Shapes Twitter account, told its 30,000 followers the truth. They said, quote, "Thanks for participating, everyone. Little Shapes was a social experiment by Balls NFT." And then there's this link to a 158-page document. And while the NFT project was fake, the documentation was real, and it was real enlightening, because in that document, they detail how influencers and founders have scammed over $200 million from the NFT space, using 274 projects to do so. They said, quote, "Over the past year, NFT Twitter has been manipulated and controlled mostly by a singular Twitter botnet. It showed up mostly in February of 2022, and then was used in conjunction with a network of influencers and alpha groups to sell out projects." Now, the title of the document is "The Insider NFT Bot Network That's Been Controlling the Market Behind the Scenes." And that document tells a tale. That since early last year, there have been a large number of projects that have used bot networks to build hype and legitimacy. And in the end, in many of the cases, it's a rug pull. In the document, it talks about bot networks. Now, D-Mister is one of them. And these networks sell fake social media engagement for NFT projects. $100 for 1,000 likes. So I can see how people would be tempted. That's really cheap engagement. Now, one thing to look at is the amount of tweets versus followers. If you got 10 tweets and 100,000 followers, that's really suspicious. And in that experiment, they even used demister to promote little shapes so we can see how it works. And so what happens? Once a project gets enough hype built up to attract real investors, they let the hype build for a few months and then they rug pull. So on February 2nd, Otto called Little Spaces a performance piece. He said they did it because people didn't listen unless you give them a reason to. As far as the story about the coma and all that, he said, quote, I needed a story that sells to make sure no one would ignore a story that hurts. And while Little Shapes was an experiment, Otto is behind the Balls NFT project. This appears to be a legit project which was first minted on February 3rd. And the NFT crime news does not end there. No. The FBI and ZachXBT have more for us. Thanks to them, we have a story about how a very expensive watch landed someone in the slammer. So what happened is the FBI seized 86.5 ETH, a Bored Ape, and a doodle from a reported phishing scammer. Known online as Horror HZ, this accused scammer's real name is Chase Senecal. And this particular expose was brought to you by the power of ZachXBT. They originally posted their lengthy investigation in September of last year. So the FBI's official notice also notes a very expensive watch was seized. Quote, seized for federal forfeiture for violation of federal law. Now, it's a $40,000 watch. It's expensive enough that I don't know for sure how to pronounce the name. It's something like Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. But that watch is what brought Senecal down. See, Senecal posted a tweet with one of those fancy watches. ZachXBT said he realized it was likely paid for in crypto. Now, apparently, there aren't all that many people who sell these specific watches. Zach asked around and found a seller that recently sold a watch for over 47,000 USDC. Now, that watch also matches watches from FlexPix from within the seller's Discord server. So our intrepid investigator chatted up the watch's seller. The seller confirmed that it was the watch and what address was used to pay for the watch. Well, from there, it's relatively simple. ZachXBT traced out how the flow of funds went. This address was directly associated with multiple addresses used to scam people using hijacked accounts. And from there, it's a short hop to various Discord attacks and other Twitter account attacks. So the FBI's notice yesterday outlined what property had been seized, but that's about it. We don't know for sure what stage things are at in this case. For his part, ZachXBT said, quote, I look forward to hopefully seeing more phishing scammers suffer a similar fate in the future for harming so many people in this space. One of the top priorities for Andrew Griffith this year is to deliver the Financial Services and Markets Bill. Now, Griffith is a UK MP, as well as being the Economic Secretary to the Treasury, and he was at Citi UK's annual dinner on Thursday when he said he hoped to get the bill on the statute book by Easter. Now, for my fellow Yanks, the statute book is a book of all the legislation passed and enacted in the UK. It's the book they throw at you when you break the law. Griffith said, quote, my ambition is for us to be the global financial hub, using our strengths to enhance strong relationships with jurisdictions all around the world, attracting investment and increasing opportunities for cross-border trade. Now, last October saw the Financial Services and Markets Bill receive a number of amendments. If it passes, the Financial Conduct Authority and His Majesty's Treasury will be granted oversight powers. Now, this bill focuses on stablecoins and will mesh somewhat with the EU's markets and crypto assets regulations. The FCA already does the bulk of crypto regulating in the UK. They're the ones responsible for the licensure of crypto firms and making sure they follow anti-money laundering regulations. This bill will give them even more authority. Earlier this week, we talked about the UK's plans for regulating crypto trading and lending. That's a separate thing from this bill. That was a consultation paper that laid out a crypto regulatory framework to cover crypto service providers, lenders, and establish some consumer protection. Now, that bill, too, will also expand the powers of the FCA. Even so, it has largely been well received in the crypto industry. And Griffith talked about that other bill as well. He said, quote, Just yesterday, we published a consultation setting out comprehensive proposals for regulating the sector. He said, "It's a big potential opportunity. I want to get it right, so am actively seeking your views." And as I said, the Financial Services and Markets Bill is largely going to cover stablecoins, which are going to be important, especially if the UK wants to be a crypto hub. I mean, they're very important for DeFi. So they're going to have to deal with stablecoins, hence the bill. However, the Bank of England and the Treasury want to go a different way. According to info from The Telegraph, they want to create the digital pound by 2030. Now, this roadmap for the digital pound is expected to be introduced next week. Deputy Governor John Cunliffe is due to give a report on the bank's progress on the central bank digital currency on February 7th. In their announcement, Governor Andrew Bailey and Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt said, quote, "On the basis of our work to date, the Bank of England and His Majesty's Treasury judge that it is likely a digital pound will be needed in the future," which I heartily disagree with. I think a stablecoin pegged to the pound would be a far, far better solution for most Brits, although some may disagree. Londoners are already among the most surveilled people on the planet. They have more surveillance cameras per person in England than they do in LA or St. Petersburg, Russia. So maybe they are okay with giving the government insight into their wallets as well. Now, reportedly, 2020 saw a 35% drop in cash and coin payments in the UK. Now, this is hardly surprising given that a pandemic kept most people at home during that time. As it stands, cash is king in only 1 out of 6 payments in the UK. Plastic, in the form of debit or credit, handles the other 5. So the UK society is clearly ready for a digital currency. I just disagree that it should be a central bank digital currency. Now, Tim Draper and Sri Lanka do not see eye to eye on Bitcoin. Draper was at Sri Lanka recently when he brought up the idea of using Bitcoin to fight corruption that may have contributed to the country's hyperinflation. But the central banker strikes again. Central Bank Governor Nalindal Weerasinghe thinks Bitcoin would make things worse, actually. So it was one of those in-between moments shooting a TV spot in Sri Lanka when Draper met the president of Sri Lanka and Weerasinghe. At that point, he recommended Bitcoin as a way of getting out of their current financial mess. During the meeting, Draper said, quote, "Have you seen Sri Lanka in the news? It's known as the corruption capital. A country known for corruption will be able to keep perfect records with the adoption of Bitcoin." And he's right. So he pitched a decentralized currency to the central banker. And the central banker responded as a central banker does when presented with crypto as an option. He said, no. In fact, Weerasinghe said, quote, "Adoption of 100% Bitcoin won't be a Sri Lanka reality ever." Now, he feels like Sri Lanka's problems would be solved if they had their own fiat currency. Like that's the solution for their own monetary policy independence. He said, quote, "We don't want to make the crisis worse by introducing Bitcoin." And that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to thank you, my listeners, because when you stop listening, I will stop talking. If you enjoyed tonight's show, please like, follow, subscribe, maybe leave a rating or a review. In the meantime, we'll be back here doing it again tomorrow night.